Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. When you're an icon, you don't have to. But once you become an icon, like in all the F-world around the world, I wish you and your family is something a little different than what. Anywho, some people, want to know what it's like to be an icon, what it's like to be a YouTube sensation, what it's like to be a wrestler in the wrestling world. Well, let me tell you, a lot of people want to know what's up with Jazz Vengeance. Well, Jazz Vengeance is presently in the middle of moving to the new House of Vengeance, along with Mrs. Vengeance and the two little Vengeances, who aren't so little anymore, folks. Let me tell you, they're not that much smaller than Jazz Vengeance. Even though I told them not to, they didn't do it anyway. Like most people, they don't listen to me. So anyway, what I'm going to do today is something a little different for a Christmas spirit. Some people, like I said in wrestling, hide from their wrestling past. They like to bury it under the rug. Like Hulk Hogan doesn't want people to know that when he originally started, he had hair, first of all. Let me tell you, that's a shocking moment, number one. Number two, he started out as a very nasty individual, and he was a heel, a bad guy, if you would. So everyone wants to, bury that under the hatchet. No one wants to remember that. And just like we're also supposed to forget all of the personas of one, Papa Shango, all these other things. And I'm also supposed to forget in wrestling that, R-Truth is the same person as, Raw Under the Truth Killings, and is the same person as K-Quick. I have intelligence. I'm not going to insult your intelligence by rattling on about that. But what I'm going to do is embrace a bit of my past in wrestling. It's not quite my favorite part of my career, but it is nonetheless part of my career. For those of you who have lived under a rock, in all honesty, it was because of the character or the persona known as Jazz Fitness that had brought me to the YouTube sensation status at that time. Icon status now, but that was back in the day. Thank you very much. Anywho, Jazz Fitness was a character based on a parody character, actually. And the reason was because, I had to take some time off from wrestling after an injury in a ring. And after earning 2 college degrees, I went back to wrestling. I didn't quite look like the average wrestler, but I could still run ropes and had the charisma and had the wherewithal, and God knows I had the mic skills to still entertain in the ring. So instead of being Jazz Vengeance, which I was since high school, and everybody who's seen any of my other specials knows how I got the name and all that fun stuff. So I'm not going to bore you with those details. But what I can do is tell you about Jazz Fitness. So Jazz Fitness, the people who wanted to, recommend Jazz Fitness to myself, who proposed the idea, were people who I felt at the time were kind of ribbing on Jazz Vengeance, if you would. And Jazz Vengeance is, indeed, he is a guy who most people know is an individual who... Jazz Vengeance was a guy who didn't take any guff, and he was the cheerleader for doing the right thing, being the hero to everyone, saying what everyone wanted to say, but didn't have a ball to do. And Jazz Vengeance was a very hardcore, badass, and fighting individual who took on all comers. He didn't think about how big or small someone was. He just got into a brawl with people, and he did it. That's what Jazz Vengeance was. So Jazz Fitness was supposed to be, because although, now when you're injured in wrestling, you're really not, and your doctor tells you you're not supposed to work out, and you're not supposed to, do a lot of things. You can't go to the gym and all these other things. In all honesty, not feeling bad about myself, and I wasn't dieting correctly, so I might have put on a little bit of weight. However, just because you put on weight, and just because you maybe bigger or smaller than you are, it does not mean you still can't perform at the same level if you hold yourself to that level that I did, which I do. So, the proposal is we're going to make you an unfit fitness guru, and we're going to make you, ridiculous, and you're going to have your own talk show, and you're going to have all these vignettes where you're going to be, talking about fitness and so forth. And at the time, I thought, like I said, it was a rib. And I had been in the business a long time at that point, and I was working with a company that I, quite frankly, didn't hear of yet. And they had been around a little while, I guess. And I joined this small company to get back in the wrestling business after I graduated from college and earned 2 degrees in my absence while injured. Yeah, I know, right? Awesome. Those degrees, by the way, in film and human services. So, 2 degrees. Thank you. Anywho, that's not pursuing the wrestling degrees that I had from Kowalski School of Wrestling, which is awesome. God love them also. Much respect to Walter and all the hard work he does, because if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't even be here today. I wouldn't be having any of the success that I did or the training I had in my ability. So, what made Jazz Fitness was the fact that he was a loudmouth, egocentric, kind of the world revolves around him, and everyone's beneath him kind of a thing, which is the opposite of what Jazz Vengeance really is about. Jazz Vengeance is really all about being the voice of the people and saying what everyone else wants to say, just doesn't have the gall, the balls, or anything else to do anything about it. And then, on top of that, Jazz Vengeance will back up whatever he says. Jazz Fitness, on the other hand, he was more of a comedic role, if you would. So, I thought for this holiday season, we're here on Christmas Eve. It is now December the 24th. Tomorrow is Christmas. I thought I'd give you all a very, very good Christmas gift from myself. And I'm going to go ahead and bring you down to Memory Road. And we're going to take a look at some of Jazz Fitness's finest moments. I know, right? If there were any. So those of you guys who are familiar with Mystery Science Theater 3000 or Riff Tracks, if you would, basically there are these guys who watch these really bad B-rated movies, and then they go ahead and they talk about them as the movie's going on. They add their own little sarcasm to it. Anyone who knows anything about Jazz Fitness or Jazz Vengeance or myself will tell you I am the most sarcastic individual you'll ever meet, but I also don't hold back and I say it how it is. So, that being said, we're going to take a look at some of Jazz Fitness's finest moments, ladies and gentlemen. And we're going to take a peek at, yes, this is a real thing, ladies and gentlemen. I kid you not, I'm going to spin it around. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. The very best of Jazz Fitness. This is volume 1, ladies and gentlemen. I did try finding the epic journey of Jazz Fitness, but I couldn't find that where we're in the we're moving and all. So let us go to scenes. Let us go to scenes right quick, and we'll go and pick some of these finest moments of Jazz Fitness, if you would. So let's start with the first episode of the Fitness Corner with Jazz Fitness. Okay, so here's me, Jazz Fitness. This is Jazz Fitness here. And I'm not going to, bore you with the details. And we're not going to go with I'm not even going to give you the sound, really. Basically, the version of this here is I'm going to be calling out the other people on the roster of BCW, like the great Dominic DeLuno, at that time known as the Twisted Hatter Alex Creed, one of the most talented and underrated wrestlers in the New England area and wherever he is. I hope he knows that much respect I have for him. And let's see who else we have here as I cut promos. Now, what I want to let you guys know is, like Riff Tracks and stuff like that, here's Johnny Stallion, who is a very prominent cook right now, and Seth Ravage, who is now a very well successful model at the moment. These are the BCW Pirates, if you would. But anywho, let me let you guys know. Now, during this shoot, if you would, this is a video of me calling out, that's Judge Chambers, who's still working in the area and helping mold the minds of others, who is a good friend of mine. And also, that's the bailiff. I don't know whatever happened to him. I think he may be working in their business still. I have no idea. And Vanessa, we all know Vanessa. Vanessa was the first guest on the Fitness Center, which was my talk show that they gave me. And this video took place after this promo, if you would, what took place after that encounter, where Jazz Fitness was a little egocentric and basically told her the woman's place was in the kitchen, And, for some odd reason, she felt the need to slap him and kick him out of the ring. So, that was the birth of the fitness center in Jazz Fitness, and what brought Jazz Fitness to shame, or to power, if you would, within that region. Now, what I want to let you know is, you don't know about this video, is on the other side of this camera, I got the director and I got another guy who is just in there, and you probably heard them laughing or not. Well, let me tell you, one of the people in that room is the very new and up-and-coming superstar in New England area, young Anthony Green, retrosexual one himself. And it was a very fun encounter. And here I am again with my friend Scotty Boxes, one of the best ring announcers in the area. In actuality, if you want to say that, Scotty Boxes is probably one of the hardest working people in wrestling. Whenever you book him, he doesn't just show up to ring announce. He kind of gets in on there. He gets his hands dirty. He's not afraid to help out, put up a ring, take down a ring, pick up a chair and whatever, and even beat up on Jazz Fitness. Much respect for him for that, and he's a hard worker, like I said. And of course, this is also one of my wife's favorite videos for some reason. And now we have the video. This is the promo, if you would, that put Jazz Fitness on the map. This is probably the highest rated video we have on YouTube that you can still find today. And this is called Jazzercising with Jazz Fitness, and there's the name of the company that is no longer a part of a thing. And we see me working out, or Jazz Fitness, if you would, taking in the 1 pound dumbbell and the Snickers bar in the other hand. It's a good time. Now, you want to talk about dedication and what it's like to be in a wrestler and be committed to a character. During that video, you see me, working out, and obviously in a singlet, which, believe me, it's not very flattering, let me tell you. And you think it's easy to wear, it's really not. But, being in the business as long as I have and being the jock that I am, I'm used to it, and I, quite frankly, don't care. But the commitment I have during all of this shoot outside, doing all these things outside here, it is actually snowing out. At some particular times during this video, you can actually see snowflakes falling. So the temperature outside in this video is about maybe 32, maybe under that, degrees out. It's very cold out there, and it's snowing out, and I'm still out there doing jazzy jacks, that's what that's known as, and doing all these little other things outside, mind you, and wearing practically nothing, which is not flattering by any means. And this is part of the reason I feel like it was a rib, as Jazz Fitness is supposed to be the unfit fitness guru, remember. So apparently I can't do sprints, and I can't run, and I can't play sports, and that was what the idea of Jazz Fitness was, which anyone who knows anything about me or Jazz Vengeance knows I am probably the most sportly, athletic-sounded individuals on the planet. I don't think there's a sport I haven't played in high school or couldn't play still today, and just as well as soccer. Actually, I was on the soccer team for 4 years, won several trophies and everything else for. But there I am, I can't even kick the ball. And here we have me becoming a goalie minus the pads, getting hockey balls thrown at me, and off the head, of course. No helmet, of course, because in wrestling we don't wear helmets. In wrestling we don't wear pads or anything else. We wear what we have. And this is another great moment. Yep, that's wonderful. And I don't want to let you guys know how hard it is to pretend to be bad at kicking a ball or doing any of these things that I'm really good at. So that's really prelude. And I want to give credit to the editor, I guess, who turned out to be a turncoat in the business in general. But anyway, that's not the point. This is the part in the moment where I'm supposed to be baseball, and if you look right there, it is a little snowing right there. You can see some snowflakes if you look carefully. So I'm not kidding. It is really snowing out, and it's really cold. But I didn't care, and I quite frankly don't mind the heat. I mean the cold, considering inside the building, all that running around in the ring and all that stuff, you get hot after a while. So I welcome the heat the cold outside. And apparently I can't hit a baseball, or I tried hitting the baseball with my head. So And the funny part about that take there was the fact that I legitimately missed the ball, and I was supposed to really hit it, and I completely missed it. And there's me doing my fitness poses with the bulging biceps, the perfect pecs, and the washboard abs, and the bowing and the worshiping of the great Jazz Fitness. And we get a nice close-up of my worst Rocky Balboa pose ever. And then we go to the next video. I can't wait to see what this gem is. I haven't seen this particular Jazz Fitness video in quite some time. So this is going to be kind of like nostalgia for me, because I haven't seen this in multiple years. Good amount of years. Because when you're in this business and when you do these things, sometimes you kind of take a break. You don't want to watch yourself on TV or watch any of your stuff. But in my case, it had to do with the fact that I was kind of ashamed at the time. Oh, this is where I'm going to give you guys on a healthy dose of making the perfect cup of coffee at the former House of Jazz. And, yeah, I want to point out the fact that this video was taking place on like a Sunday morning. It's like 9:30 in the morning. And, of course, I would make a cup of coffee that early in the morning. And I would also make a cup of coffee about 10 minutes after that, 10 minutes after that, 20 minutes after that, 20 minutes after that, half hour, and an hour. Yeah, I love coffee, in case you didn't tell. But this is not particularly how I take my coffee, just pointing that out. So in case you guys were wondering, do I actually make my coffee like this in every day? No, not necessarily. But I do drink a lot of coffee. I'm not gonna lie to you on that. My wife does try to get me to cut down a lot, but as I tell her, if God didn't intend me to drink it, He wouldn't have put it on the planet for me to drink. So there you go. And you gotta love the headband of One Jazz Fitness and the hair of Jazz Fitness. And again, there's that wonderful first string singlet of Jazz Fitness in the early career of myself. This is before a lot of things. A lot of things were going on around this time. At that particular time, I was working on my first independent film. By the way, the person I was making the film with was also the person who was the cameraman for this company, and also the person who did all these videos and so forth. So yeah, he's some talented in editing and stuff like that. Unfortunately, I guess I kind of learned a lesson in wrestling that you can't always rely on other fellow people in the wrestling business, and you actually kind of learn that over your career. As I had trusted him with a project, the movie that I was making, and he kind of, I had to take a break from the movie making business for a while to focus on my family and my own health. I was having some hard times right at a particular moment in my life. I had to take a break from the movie, and I guess when I came back to talk to the gentleman about refilming the movie or getting ready to make the movie again or revamp it, he told me that he was moving to California. He couldn't work on the movie anyway. In fact, that was before I got married, and he was actually supposed to film my wedding, which he couldn't do because he, quote, was moving to California after graduating from film school that I helped him get into. Mind you, when these videos were made, and also when we first met the gentleman, he was actually going to school in high school. He was in for culinary. But yet he graduated from school with a film degree, because I have to believe it has to be because I was the one who got him into this filmmaking world, or gave him the bug, so to speak, or the creativity and whatnot. I guess that was my mistake, because I guess I gave him way too much freedom. Because what ended up happening was, after he told me that he was moving to California, which, why would I expect him not to lie? Why would I expect him to lie to me? I said, okay, well, good luck to you. I hope everything's well. And I left, and didn't hear from him for a long while. I also told him at that time I was taking a break from social media, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, because, you see, here's what a lot of people don't understand. For a long time, I had given a lot of my time to this wrestling world and in the movie world and everything else to everyone else, not taking a lot of time for myself and not taking the time for my family. And frankly, there were some things I needed to do for my family and for my own personal well-being. And we're getting ready for Jazz Fitness Plays Basketball, which is just a fantastic parody of what not to do playing basketball, and you got to wonder why I don't play for the Celtics. And yes, I am wearing a shirt, ladies and gentlemen. It's a white tank top, which is terrible in the lighting, which the editor would have been great to tell me that. But anyway, going back, long story short, the movie, what ended up happening was after I took a couple of years sabbatical from all the social media and whatnot, I returned about a year ago. Actually, I returned to social media, so it's actually only been a year since I've been kind of back on social media and back in the entertainment world and in the wrestling world and everything else. And I think I've done pretty good about it. But here I am back. And but what ended up happening was, I guess what the individual did, he ended up, doing some shady things on Facebook, Twitter, whatnot, and ended up. I don't actually know what he exactly said to the other people making the film or working on the film with us, but he told me he was moving to California. I don't know what he told them, but apparently he didn't go to California. He was still in the area, and in fact, he finished the movie that we started together and took the full credit for all of my movie that I wrote and perspired and whatnot. And I was the one that picked a lot of the people in the cast, and I did a lot of that. We had a lot of the things at the place that I resided at for the film. I dedicated a lot of time to the movie, and apparently the the other half, so to speak, of our little organization, I guess he decided to take the full credit for his film project and for his own career, and kind of left me in the dust, not giving me any credit whatsoever. And then, about maybe 6 months ago, I got a phone call from a very loyal friend of mine who said, "Hey, did you check this out on Prime?" And at the time, I didn't have time for Amazon Prime. I don't really have a lot of time to watch movies. I'm a busy individual. I work. I have 2 kids, a wife, and a life, so to speak. So I checked out on the Prime, like the friend of mine had sent me, and it was a link to the movie that I had created and started, and it was the same premise, it was the same cast, it was the same idea. We even used some of the same footage that I was there for, but yet what was absent was any involvement of me whatsoever, and not even so much as a special thanks to at the end of the credits. Just to follow up, there is some legal things going on with that presently. We're currently awaiting to hear back from the other half of the plaintiff. I guess you'd say the defendant, I guess, in this case, because this is a case of copyright infringement, since it was all mine and he stole it. But anyway, that's an entertainment thing you just don't have to worry about. Now, who are these people we have, you ask? Well, these are people who are friends of the film director himself, the person on the other side of the camera, actually. But it is me who is actually doing all this. And again, basketball is actually one of those things that I'm second nature very good at. So to actually pretend to not be good at basketball is very difficult as well. As this footage, by the way, the director of this is actually the one making it. So if it looks shaky, it's not me, because I have this on a tripod right now. It is actually the camera work on the film editor himself, the one who went on to do big things apparently under my name. Anywho, dropping the subject, not going to go back to that. So that's all I'm going to say about that. Just know that, I'm aware of the situation. We're aware, and a lot of my friends and my supporters are very upset about it. And I thank the people who have stood by me and, still continue to support me and whatnot. And whatnot. So, life lesson there, folks. Can't trust everyone in wrestling or anywhere else in life, though. There you go. Anywho, back to the video here. We see this is the brother of one of the other people. By the way, the basketball player to the right, the last basketball player I play is actually a former, I guess you'd say a student or a up-and-coming in the New England area who worked for the wrestling company that would also spawn Jazz Fitness. This is the brother, by the way, in case you were wondering, of that young man who was a wrestler at the time, or trying to become a wrestler. And it was my job to kind of help the guys with their, mic skills and kind of help them kind of critique those things. The other thing is that when they gave you, looking back, I was, like I said about the Jazz Fitness character, I was feeling kind of crappy about it. I felt like they were kind of ribbing on me, I can do more than this. I'm the guy that used to jump off balconies. I'm the guy who's undefeated in Quincy death matches and everything else. And here I am, I can barely run ropes. I'm doing jazzy jacks and jazz ups and eating Twinkies and ding dongs. I don't even like Twinkies, to be honest with you. In all honesty, I don't even like sweets. I know, that's ironic, right? In fact, right now I'm drinking tea to make this video, which, it's not the usual coffee I'd make, and then actually the tea I'm drinking is half caffeine and half not caffeine, so the things you do in life, the older you get. One thing I do miss is the sunglasses, and right now I gotta admit that one of the reasons I waited so long to make this video is because I don't know where all these sunglass collections I have are. So that is kind of the reason. As petty as it sounds, I'm very committed to, me. But Jazz Vengeance never wore sunglasses all that often, so that is why I've decided to go and come back today. So, and there we see me adjusting my headband. We don't really need to see the rest of this basketball video. Let me just give you let me just tell you what happens at the end of this. Basically, I lose. It's a best of, it's a gauntlet kind of a thing. I took on all three of those people you saw playing, and I lost to all of them ridiculously because as you can see, I think it's clear that I was purposely missing and purposely making myself look like a fool for their enjoyment. So now we're going to go to the next page and see what we got on the next thing, yeah? A carnival, okay. This is a day at the carnival. This is a very nice one. Here you go. You ever wonder what happens when I go to a carnival? Well, this is kind of what happens to me whenever I go out in public, if you want to know the truth. So, here's me going through a carnival. Now, let me give you some background to some of these things you're about to say. First of all, we're doing a show on the 4th of July weekend in a town of Massachusetts. The gentleman to the right there you see, in the security outfit, to the right, the big gentleman with the long hair and the beard, that gentleman went on to become a New England champion, he went on to become Lumberjake, ladies and gentlemen. Or if you missed it, he was also the first protege of one, Jazz Fitness. If you saw the epic encounter between Jazz Fitness and Lumberjake and Doink the Clown, legendary individual. The one in the back there, you see Ronnie Angle, and we're not going to acknowledge him because he's not worth knowledge. And now, here's the fun part. Now, here we're doing one of those test of strength things. Remember, Jazz Fitness is supposed to be an unfit fitness guru. And I'm also supposed to be someone who, looking back, I was supposed to be, feeling bad about myself. But, let's face it. People stopped. They were watching. I actually grew a crowd. You see several people there standing watching. And there's people in the background watching. And, it's hard not to. And the problem with this was I actually accidentally hit the thing and it almost went all the way up, which kind of sucked. It would have been an epic fail if I had actually made it to the top, as odd as that may sound. So I actually didn't mean to hit the thing, and I accidentally did. And it almost went all the way to the top, which kind of was embarrassing, and that's the end of that, apparently. And I just want to say that is where the epic move known as the deep fried Oreo driver came from, which is a fantastic finishing maneuver, which I still do to this day. And that was born right there at that carnival, the name of it anyway. As we went to the carnival, we saw the deep fried Oreo driver. Now here we have the infomercial for Jazz Fitness and the fitness system that several people get on. DDP has his yoga, well, Jazz Fitness has his, fitness system. It's how he stays in such unfit shape, as I can barely do the treadmill there, or I'm doing the treadmill. Now, again, this is like 6:30 in the morning at the former House of Jazz, which most of these things took place at. And, yeah, I know, right? I have my own gym. Be jealous, I know. It's a hard life. Anyway, so we see me trying to work the treadmill, and there we go with the telling you about what you get with the fitness system and how you stay out. And I introduced the exercise known as yogurt. ladies and gentlemen. Yoga's, all done. Yoga's kind of outplayed. And if you're Jazz Fitness, you don't care about yoga, you do yogurt because it's food related. See, there's yogurt. And, the fun part is if you ordered the fitness system, you got Jazz Fitness's really big ball. And here's what I'm supposed to be doing. And again, this is what Jazz Fitness did. This is how Jazz Fitness got over, if you would, by doing foolish things of this nature. There you see a number. Now, believe it or not, this number right here, ladies and gentlemen, you can call. It was a real number. So, I don't know what it is now since the fitness system is no longer for sale. But again, remember, you have to be 18 years or older to call anyway. So, and most people young don't have credit cards in their names anyway, or they shouldn't anyway. And ought to mention the fact, if anyone was to spend the money on this program like is advertised for what you got in this advertisement, if you bought something, put your credit card number on this thing, you're out of your mind. Anyway, we see me telling you, whatever I'm saying there. Again, and now we're doing the weights. And again, for someone like myself, I actually, when I was younger and when I was starting out my career, I was kind of in the gym a lot and actually pretty good. And being in high school, you kind of have to be in shape to be on the soccer team, the wrestling squad, and the swim team all in the same season, which is what my three sports mainly were. So if you know what a person who, plays soccer or does swimming or wrestles with, that, usually they're in pretty decent shape. This is not the look of one who does not. So that's kind of cool. So we see Jazz Fitness, and this goes on, and the fun stuff. What we're going to do, because you don't have the ability to, but I can. I'm going to fast forward this a little bit if I can. Yeah, I'm going to fast forward a little bit. I want to let you guys know, this right here, see this? If you're spending $178.95 to look like Jazz Fitness, you got problems, brother. So I think this is the very first episode of the Fitness Center with myself and Vanessa. And it is. Lucky us. So you're going to see now the very first episode of the Fitness Center with myself. Jazz Fitness. Actually, not me. I'm Jazz Vengeance. The Jazz Fitness is the other character. Now, what I want to let you guys know is, again, I was feeling crappy about this, but it wasn't until a very well-known legend in the area, I went backstage and I said, I can't believe these people are making fun of me, and I don't know what it is. And the guy told me, he was a very seasoned individual in the New England area. He's a very good teacher in the area now. He's trained a lot of great up-and-coming superstars right now. And, my hat's off to good old Brickhouse Baker for that advice, as well as Brutal Bob Evans, who also told me the same thing as, Brickhouse Baker, because they were both there, and I told them both, I can't believe these guys are making fun of me like this. But it was when I went back to the, they called me to the curtain, and they showed me the match after this. And I remember the match before this because I was getting ready to come out here. Now, if you guys wondered if I was nervous before coming out to the ring, or am I ever, anxious or whatever? No, I'm really not. And quite frankly, I'm very good at just kind of shooting my mouth off randomly. And the good thing about Jazz Fitness, which I thought was going to be hard for me, is it allowed me to be a dick to fans. And that's something Jazz Vengeance wasn't really known for. He was kind of the voice for the fans, was what I'm for. Jazz Vengeance is for the fans. Jazz Fitness is about himself. So what's funny is that I couldn't get over how much fun I kind of had at making fun of these people and making fun of all the... You know what? To be a heel, I gotta say, to be a bad guy in wrestling is kind of fun. I'm not gonna lie to you. And quite frankly, I kind of enjoy it, which is kind of why Jazz Vengeance is, my current persona is kind of, I'm not a good guy or a bad guy. I'm gonna say what I want anytime I want and just say it how it is. So, but like I said, as I was telling you guys about, the advice from the two legends in the business, and there's Vanessa, the very first guest on the Fitness Center. Now, what you didn't hear is me, talking to you about, telling the crowd how the most disgusting human alive was going to come out there, the most ugliest thing. Parents, watch your children's eyes. They're going to have nightmares for a month because the most hideous creature is coming out here. Well, this is the hideous creature, ladies and gentlemen. Vanessa. Now, I don't know what happened to Vanessa, but I can tell you that I did enjoy working with her, and it was a good, fun part there. But this is where I kind of told her, shouldn't you be getting my Snickers bars, my protein shakes? That's the woman's job to service us men anyway, right? And then, of course, I do the old customary, I don't allow her to answer because nobody cares. They're about hearing me. But, that's all the fun part. And Scotty Boxes apparently, knows that there's trouble coming. And this is where I ask the fans, ain't I correct? And there's the epic slap for nothing, and there's the kicking me out of the ring. Yup, me, folks, Jazz Fitness. So I'm angry now, and also on top of that, my segment got cut down a little bit because of all the other stuff that was going on. But what I want to put your attention to is look around this crowd right here. These seats, and now it might not look like a large crowd, it wasn't, but every one of those seats has all the crowd in it. And this was the only match on the night, and actually I come to mind when it was the two legends who kind of pointed out to me that anytime I am in that ring as that character, those seats are filled with the fans. Well, that's, I guess, the end of the very best of Jazz Fitness. So we're going to take you back to me again. Hi, folks, I'm back. Jazz Vengeance here. And, so Jazz Fitness, the two legends had told me, if you think the people are responsible for making fun of you or whatever, you get back at them by getting yourself over and making yourself the star. You get even by making yourself the best thing that they had signed. And that's kind of what I did whenever I went out there. And in actually looking back, and now I can see that they were kind of correct, because I haven't seen this video in a long time, but I did see in the very first episode of the Fitness Center, all of those seats were filled. And anytime there was a fitness center on the show, all the seats were filled. There was nobody at the concession stand, at the bathroom, or anything else. There was also a parade of guys standing at the curtains, listening and laughing and everything else behind the scenes at my antics and whatever. But, and then meanwhile, while that was doing that, I called to mind that, for example, the Pirates you saw earlier, me calling out, those guys who were tag team champions or wrestling for the tag team champion, whatever, people weren't invested in that match. They were walking around. They were going to the concession stand. It was probably like maybe 10 people sitting in the seat for the tag team match, maybe 15. But yet, for my fitness center, everyone was sitting there. Everyone was enthralled. I brought everyone into it. And part of being a showman or being in the business is being able to interact with the fans like I am. Being able to call out those people that normal people wouldn't. And, whatnot. And being the heel is kind of fun because you get to poke at the fun people and, whatnot. A lot of people ask me, what are your favorite moments as Jazz Fitness or in wrestling? I got to say, Jazz Vengeance is a great career. I mean, I have a lot of success as Jazz Vengeance, but one of the moments in Jazz Fitness's career that stands out to me is the time that I started a riot almost in a little no-name underground dive bar in Brockton. We did a show at, and I almost caused a riot there. So I'm glad I didn't. So anywho, and it was fun. I was working for another company. It wasn't the same company that you had just seen, but I was Jazz Fitness. The company said, "Hey, well, listen, we're doing this show. It's in a bar. I know you usually work for the other company. They're like a family-friendly show, but we're a little bit more edgy since we're in the middle of a bar. So you can be a little bit more edgy if you want," which is good for me because my first job in the business was in the old ECW, so I was prominent for giving those kind of ECW promos that they're known for, that I was known for, and quite frankly, it was kind of I think it was my mentor and my trainer, Slick Wagner Brown, who said I had the golden microphone, who said that I had the gift of the mic, and it was Walter who said that I was hot on the stick, and it was actually also part of our training at the end of our sessions back in wrestling school that in training camp that at the end of our day, I would actually cut promos or call out or shoot on every single person in the arena gym that day. So basically the other wrestlers or the other students and even the teachers and whatnot. So I would actually call out, and it actually helped me develop my mic skills and my promo skills and whatnot, which is why I can speak as well as I can and call whoever I can out. And that is how that started. However, in this dive bar in Brockton, you guys, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Brockton, Massachusetts, but it's not generally an area that someone would go into and kind of purposely make fun of it, especially in a dive bar and in the area. It's kind of a rough area, if you want to call it that. And I went in there, and I was Jazz Fitness, and the promoter told me, hey, listen, go get them. You're going to start off the show. Go out there, piss them off, and then, come back here. We'll be all set. I said, well, just make sure security's on tap because this is Brockton. I don't want to get shot. I don't want to get hurt or anything else. So, this is wrestling. It's not supposed to be like, a real thing. So I go out there, and, I guess they took liberty with some of the things that Jazz Fitness had to say, like, telling them that, shouldn't they be spending their welfare money on something other than seeing Jazz Fitness wrestle, or me telling them that, if I had nothing going in my pathetic lives, I'd probably pay money to see someone better than me, like Jazz Fitness 2, or my other favorite was when I told them, the concession stand wouldn't take their food stamps that night. Yeah, the fans didn't like that. Chairs were thrown, threats were thrown out, but security was good. The boys in the back were good. In all honesty, I think the fans even know. The fans know you're part of a show. You're not out there. You're not really a dick. At least I try not to be. Out of the ring or out of the character or whatnot. So now that's the Jazz Fitness, Jazz Vengeance thing. Let's talk about other things. Since it's, my time, I haven't been on a little while, so I got to make up for time. And like I said in the description of this title, see, when a sensation, as Jazz Fitness is on, they have to be prominent, they have to be on the TV all the time, they have to always make a video, they have to, beck and call of everybody. When you're an icon like myself, though, and if you're wondering what makes me an icon, it's because YouTube themselves have thrown me many, shout outs. I get, regular viewers, I get emails from fans around the place. I had a fan from Australia who loves the show that my son and I do called Jazz and Sons Dream Matches, and newly made Woman Warriors Wrestling, our show that is video game based, that we bring all your dream matches to life. Well, we had a friend of mine from Australia send us the money for a new PS4 so we can make our show even better. So it's kind of cool, and a big shout out to him. So you know who you are. So thank you for that. And that was just this year. We've been doing the Dream Matches thing for quite a while now, and it's kind of the hottest thing going, and it's kind of a craze that we started, my son and I'm kind of proud of that. I know there's a lot of other people out there who do things similar to us, but it's okay to not copy, but kind of play homage and kind of do similar things. But as long as you guys know that we're the real deal and we're there first, I don't really care. Whatever, do whatever you want, but all I can say is we're the ones that, kind of made it a thing and kind of were the first ones to originate it, and I'm kind of proud of that. Let's talk wrestling, if you would. It's Christmas Eve, right? So I've been watching wrestling now for a little while. I took some time off from wrestling and a lot of things. Like I said, I needed to focus on my family and I had to focus on other things. I had to focus on other projects and had a lot going on. I was moving and a very hectic, busy life for myself, which, believe me, you'll have no idea. But anyway, let's talk wrestling. Let's see what's going on in the wrestling world. So I took a year or two off from wrestling. Like I used to watch wrestling all the time, and that's what inspired me to get in the business, right? That's why we usually get in the business, because we watch it, we love it, we grow up with fans first, then we go into it most of the time. I don't have a relative in wrestling, so I didn't, get bred into the company. I wasn't given a golden spoon. I wasn't any of that. I actually, like a lot of other guys today, I busted my ass in the gym. I went to wrestling school, busted my ass there, bled, sweat, tears, all that shit, and then I ended up becoming a wrestler. So there you go. But it was but it was before that, we take around the fan thing. You're growing up watching wrestling and whatnot. And, people will say, what is the greatest generation? People talk about music. They talk about, movies and whatever. To me, I always judge, what's going on in society or whatever by what's going on in wrestling, really. Because for the longest time, the only thing that really is, it's a male soap opera, I guess, but it's something that's addictive. Wrestling is one of those things that you can take time off from. You can not watch wrestling for a month, a year, a couple of years, but if you watch wrestling, and I kid you not, I challenge anyone to do this. If you're a one-time wrestling fan, and you haven't watched in years and years and years, you can not watch for 10, 20, 30 years, not watch wrestling. But if you were to watch wrestling for 1 week straight on TV, just 1 week of wrestling TV, you'd probably get hooked and you'd be caught up like that in no time. And you wouldn't really, it would be like you didn't miss anything. Yeah, there'd be guys you probably never heard of, you didn't know, you're like, who the hell is this guy? Where did he come from? What is this? But in the end, it's always the same thing. It's always the same formula, it's always the same situations and whatnot. Now, one of the good things I like about Jazz and Sons Dream Matches and Woman Warriors Wrestling is because on our show, we kind of do this stuff that we think the other competitors, by the other competitors I mean the other companies in wrestling in real life, should do. On Dream Matches, we have a roster of like 300 people, 300 characters, if you would. That's not including the guys that they give you in the game. Like we use a certain game for a company that is got their own network. Actually, I don't even think it's a problem. WWE Network, and WWE in general, wrestling in general, Vince McMahon, all those guys, yep. We love the wrestling games. We love EA Sports. In all honesty, I like WWE sometimes. I like a lot of wrestling, though. Me being the wrestling connoisseur that I am, I like any wrestling, though. I'm not just drawn to one company, and I'm not just drawn to one superstar, and I'm not just drawn to whatever everyone else likes. One of the things that makes me unique, and one of the things I think I respect more in a wrestling fan, is one who has their own mind, kind of beats to their own drum, and follows the people who they like for their reasons. Like, for example, in wrestling, you got, for example, we'll take the WWE. We're just going to talk about the WWE. Because I've been watching now, like I said, for about a year straight from, taking a break from a little while. I come back, and, one of the things that I notice is, and I'm actually kind of proud of, is some of the guys who are working in the WWE right now, who are on the higher cards, are actually guys I worked with over the years. I'm kind of proud about that. These are guys who I either, worked with in a company here and there, or, shared a locker room with, guys I learned with, guys I trained with, and that makes me proud to see those guys up there and doing their thing and, making all this stuff happen. I'm happy for them. That's what they chose to do, and that's what they chose to go on for with their career. Congratulations to them. There's no bitter feeling. There's no jealousy or anything like that there. But what I don't like is when I watch them, or I see, when they're getting mistreated or misused, or, things like that, or people shoot on them, or people, have poor opinions on them, whatever. And, yeah. So, a few years ago, now, what spawned me for doing this video today is I actually had to watch some old Jazz Fitness stuff, and, I watched a video I did a long time, I completely forgot about. It was when I shot on the WWE and WrestleMania, I think it was 33 or something, WrestleMania 30, I think. And I told them how horrible it was. It was the worst show I've ever seen in my life. And it was. I stand by my words. I remember WrestleMania 30. It was terrible. I want to forget it, but I can't. But going forward, we're now, I think we're at WrestleMania 35 now. I don't know. I lost count of how many WrestleManias there are now. But what I can tell you is this. You want your viewers or your audience to get behind people. Why don't you listen to them? Give them the people they want. Don't force them to have people they don't want. And make it clear who is heel, who is villain, and whatever. But, today's wrestling, you really can't do that because there are smart fans, or there are fans like myself, who will actually cheer for the bad guy or the guy you're not supposed to like. Because quite frankly, I think they're sometimes more entertaining and sometimes more talented. Because what you don't know, let me tell you what the job of the bad guy is. The bad guy has got two big things. So number one, they got to make all you fans hate them. Which, if you're a real nice guy in real life and you got to make everyone hate you, you got to completely switch it up. As I said earlier, it's fun. I found it easy, but that's because I have the training to do that. But the other part of being a heel is to make the good guys or the heroes look better than they really are. Now, I want to point out, throughout history, there have been wrestlers who have been like the kind of golden boy, the tough guy, the flavor of the month, the heroes to all those, Hulkamaniacs, the Cena Knights, the Rockettes, or whatever else you want to call them. Well, you want to look back at all those people and look at all those things and those careers, and, it was the same thing, but you know what they all have in common? Like, Hulk Hogan, do I have respect for Hulk Hogan? A lot of people ask me, who are your favorite wrestlers and who don't you like in wrestling and why? And then when I tell them, they're like, whoa, how dare you? Well, here's how dare I. I've been watching for a long time, 1. 2, I pay my money or whatever to watch your show. I want to be entertained, number 2. Number 3, because I pay money to watch your show and because I'm investing my time into investing in you guys, the least you can do is allow me the right to like who I like and not like those who I don't, if that makes any sense. Therefore, do I respect Hulk Hogan? Yeah, I guess. Do I think he's a great wrestler? Absolutely not. Do I think professionally he's great? No. I've heard too many stories on both ends. And I kind of have a philosophy that if you hear the same story 12 times over about the same person, I don't think 12 people who don't even know each other, who don't even like each other, who have the same conclusion about the same person, are all telling the wrong thing. That's all I'm going to say about that. But here's what I'm going to tell you. I was not a Hulkamaniac in the 80s. And it's true. I didn't like Hulk Hogan. WrestleMania 6 came along. I didn't like The Ultimate Warrior. Sorry, honey. I know my wife loves The Ultimate Warrior. I know. And I know a lot of my friends out there in FOL love Hulk Hogan and The Warrior or whatever. My own personal preference, I didn't like either one. Why? I didn't find them entertaining. I could never understand anything they said. Hulk Hogan was the same, PG, bubblegum bullshit. Say your prayers, take your vitamins, blah, blah, blah. And, then, he would go and, he would depend on the bigger guy or the other guy to get him look good. Now, here's what you guys don't know about wrestling. This little hidden thing. You guys probably know it now because it's been a long time. You probably did your research or whatever. You want to talk about Hulk Hogan. You want to say how great he is. You know what? Instead of giving him all that credit, maybe give the guys the credit guys who got him over, who are the ones who are responsible for him becoming as big as he is. Guys like Earthquake, the Big Boss Man, Andre the Giant, Kamala, One Man Gang. These are guys who, if it wasn't for them making him look good, Hogan would look awful. Could you ever see Hogan doing a shooting star press off the top rope? Could you ever see Hulk Hogan putting on a sharpshooter? Putting on a shoot match? Doing a martial art move? No. Hogan had everyone wants to talk about how, Cena's 5 moves of doom. What about Hogan? What did he have? 3? The punch, the kick, the back rake, the eye rake, the clothesline. Am I missing one? The leg drop. Oh, the body slam and the leg drop. That was a finisher, now, mind you. The body slam and the leg drop was Hulk Hogan's finisher. Can someone please explain to me why, since Hulk Hogan's been around, Hulk Hogan's really not been a thing, I don't know how many different variations of a leg drop I've seen. How come none of those ever beat any of the guys today? Why? Because it doesn't make any sense and the fans are smarter now. But if it wasn't for guys, like I said, like the Big Boss Man, Kamala, Earthquake, Tugboat, Typhoon, whatever you want to call him. if it wasn't for Andre the Giant, or any of those big guys that everyone wanted to make fun of, and Hulk Hogan had to rise up, and he had to use all the power of the Hulkamaniacs to do all these crazy things. Well, if it wasn't for people like Andre the Giant, who told on Hulk Hogan to body slam him at WrestleMania 3, if you knew the real story, how Hogan told him, I can't do that, and Andre said, body slam me or I'll slam you, and then he body slammed him, and he talks about how every bone in his back snapped, or every muscle popped, or whatever the case may be. But guess what? If it wasn't for Andre the Giant telling him to body slam him at WrestleMania 3, now for you guys who are historians in wrestling, you know that was the first time Andre the Giant had ever been picked up or slammed ever in his career. If it wasn't for that moment, never mind the WrestleMania moment for a moment, if it wasn't for Andre the Giant doing that, would Hulk Hogan even be a thing? If it wasn't for King Kong Bundy taking him in a cage, beating him down, and then losing, would Hogan really be that impressive? Can you guys think about this for a moment? Let's think of all the people who were around during the Hogan era. Okay, the 80s we're talking, right? Late 70s, early 80s, all throughout the 80s, early 90s, right? Let's look at some of those superstars around that time. Could Hogan wrestle Ricky the Dragon Steamboat? No, he couldn't be bothered. You know why? Because Ricky Steamboat could wrestle. Ricky Steamboat could wrestle for 30 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, look phenomenal, still do crazy things, still look phenomenal. Ricky Steamboat didn't, do the, all these high-flying things. Did he jump off the rope? Yes, he was one of the prominent guys to do that. But Ricky Steamboat was one of the most technically sound wrestlers on the planet at that time. He didn't wrestle him, though, did he? No. How about Ravishing Rick Rude? Did he wrestle him? I don't really remember. But I can tell you this. I'm going to guess no, because Ravishing Rick Rude is another guy who could actually wrestle. Did he wrestle guys like...
Excuse the interruption, but there's an incoming...
Did he do a show, or did he wrestle guys like the Birdman, Coco Beware, his good friend, Brutus the Barber Beefcake, Greg the Hammer Valentine, Jake the Snake Roberts? You guys all know these names? Of course you do. How about Billy Jack Hayes? How about Jumpin' Jim Brunzell? How about Hillbilly Jim, Junkyard Dog, any of those guys? Roddy Piper. Yes, he finally did wrestle Roddy Piper, but let's face it, he needed a tag team match, first of all, and second of all, there was never a win. He never beat Piper. Yeah, that's a fact. He never pinned Piper. I think WCW is some crazy thing where he finally did or whatever, but WCW is, it doesn't really matter to me because it was all, garbage towards the end anyway, so it didn't really matter at that point. What I am talking about is the Hogan era. When Hogan was a thing, a fixture on your television set, if it wasn't for those guys, like the Boss Man and those guys, making him look good, he wouldn't be anything. And what do they all have in common? They were all the bad guys. They were also big guys, too, but that's beside the point. The Ultimate Warrior, as much as my wife likes him, I really couldn't understand him. I couldn't get behind him. He was yelling. He screamed. He didn't make any sense when he cut a promo. If you did try to pay attention during his promos or his talking, if you would get lost because nothing would make any sense. He would just kind of ramble about random things. Maybe get two punchlines or peg lines into what he was talking about. He was lucky to call the right guy his name when he was wrestling the guy. Whatever. People like the people. I'm not going to knock those people. This is why I don't like them. The guys I mentioned, in case you were wondering, who were the guys I liked then? Well, I liked the guys like Ricky Steamboat, Roddy Piper, Brutus Beefcake, Jake the Snake Roberts. For a few reasons. Jake the Snake Roberts had probably one of the greatest minds in wrestling. Roddy Piper can cut a promo better than anyone. He could make you hate him or love him. He was still Roddy Piper. He was spot on. And he could perform in the ring. And then you got Ricky Steamboat, who was technically sound. He looked phenomenal. He was great in the ring. He had presence. He had the charisma. Macho Man Randy Savage, another guy. He had all of that stuff. Hogan did finally wrestle him, but of course Hogan had to look like the good guy again. And Macho Man had to take the back seat to him. In fact, during that era, Hogan, who was supposed to have all these good friends in wrestling, right? He's friends with Piper. Different in wrestling, everyone knows about the different friends people have, the little cliques they have in wrestling. That term is kind of an outdated thing, but it was going on for years, folks. Let me tell you, there's people who hang out together. Hogan liked his buddies, and you always knew who his buddies were because they followed him everywhere he went. Guys like Beefcake and Hillbilly Jim, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, the Nasty Boys are friends of his, and they were friends. All these people were former friends of his. I don't think they're very friendly now, the ones who are alive anyway. But in the scheme of things, Hulk Hogan. The guys I liked were the guys who people couldn't be invested in because they wouldn't give them that time. Wouldn't give them the investment time to that, which is really sad and despicable. I feel like one of the things we do on Dream Matches and one more as wrestlers, we give the people, regardless, if it's fan, we run our show like it's a thing. It's like a real thing. We run our company like a real company. We do it the way it should be done. We give everyone on the roster ample time to be impressive. We give everyone the opportunities that they never normally do. We give the opportunities to people nobody wants to give opportunities to. Which is sad because there are a lot of talented people, even today's roster. Let's look at today's roster. Okay, on the top of the cards, you got guys like Brock Lesnar. You got, Seth Rollins, Dean Ambrose, Randy Orton's still there. John Cena when he shows up. Undertaker once every few years. Triple H when he has to throw him down the throat. All these other people, right? All of those guys are on the top of the cheap food chain, right? Meanwhile, okay, guys like, let's see, how about Rusev, okay? Yeah, I know Rusev's not literally, now people are starting to catch on a little bit now, but Rusev, a lot of things you could do with that. He could be the next Iron Sheik, but no, Iron Sheik's another guy, by the way, Hogan owes a big thank you to, but he doesn't. We're going to be back, folks, later on. Catch him back. Thank you, and have a good day.